And welcome once more to Flashpoints. I'm Bob Orr, joined by Juan Zarate, our national security analyst. Juan, good to see you.
Bob, great to see you.
We're getting closer now to the Olympic Games, and that's usually a time of great celebration, but this year it's a time of anxiety.
Yeah, unfortunately, the security dimensions of the Games at Sochi have sort of taken predominance in terms of the attention. We usually were worried about how many gold medals are going to come back to different countries. Unfortunately, the security environment has taken hold here as a major concern. And with good reason, Bob. We know that there's the intent of groups, terrorist groups out of the Caucasus, largely driven by the Caucasus Emirates, to actually attack and disrupt the Olympics. They have the capabilities. We've seen the 3 attacks in Volgograd starting in September through December, and years of capabilities and demonstrated wherewithal by these groups to attack different sites, whether they're soft targets or hard targets. And finally, the opportunity, the realization that this is the world stage of sporting events, at least in terms of the Winter Games, and the fact that this is so personalized for President Putin. Putin has not only sold the Games internally, but internationally as a demonstration of Russia's ability to put on a major event and its graduation to great power status yet again. And so this is a target of opportunity with groups in the region in environments very close to where they operate. That presents an opportunity for disruption.
Tell me a little bit about this group. What is their core mission? What are they after? I mean, where do they fit in the terrorism spectrum?
Yeah, well, keep in mind there's been an insurgent and terrorist problem in the Caucasus for a long time. This is the regions of Chechnya, Dagestan, Ingushetia. And you've had 2 wars of separation and insurgency between Russia and the groups, largely in Chechnya, but also then migrating into Dagestan. What's happened is this group led by a leader named Doku Umarov, who may be dead. Reports are that he might be, not clear yet. He's basically morphed into an Islamist violent leader of a terrorist organization, fractured with various iterations, but largely based in Dagestan. Their goal is to establish an Islamic state in the Caucasus. Their goal is to drive Russian forces out of the region. And in the context of Sochi, the stated principle of having major impact and disruption on the attacks themselves and starting a new wave of sacred battle, in the words of Doku Umarov, to attack the Olympics. And that's what makes it so dangerous.
So this is an avowed enemy of Russia. They would like to embarrass Putin, strike a blow if they could. But why would they target Westerners? Just because of the worldwide attention it would draw? Like, what's in it for this group to attack people from the UK or the US?
Well, I'm not sure that they would necessarily go after Westerners, though keep in mind that this group is tied ideologically and in some ways operationally with some of the international global terrorist groups. And so in some ways it's a target-rich environment for these guys who not only hate the Russians and want to kill as many Russians as possible, but may want to strike members of the US team or the British team or others that they consider to be enemies. And so I know the Chinese, for example, are worried about this. I was talking to a Chinese official this morning about that. So it's a target-rich environment, and so in many ways they don't care who they hit. Interestingly too, Bob, they've had a demonstrated willingness to hit soft targets and to kill civilians. And in the statement from Doku Umarov from July this year, he lifted the moratorium on hitting civilian targets. So you know, the soft targets are there. The Russians are on top of the hard security. They do everything brutally and en masse. So Sochi and the venues are going to be largely locked down. The question is, does something happen in the environs to disrupt, and are the terrorists able to take advantage? Not just during the Olympics in February, but also the Paralympics that happen in March. And so we're talking not just about a 3-week period in February, we're talking about a 2-month period that the Russians have to be worried.
And the intelligence analysts are very worried. I mean, they're openly worried about this.
Yeah, and from a U.S. perspective, concerns that we're not getting full visibility into what the Russians are seeing or tracking in terms of the threat.
We will have to keep an eye on this for sure.
Absolutely.
Juan, thanks. And thanks to you for watching Flashpoints. I'm Bob Orr. We'll see you next time.